This is Kathy Biehl of Empowermentunlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the week of June 11, 2018. We're in for an extraordinarily active week, particularly in information flow. And here's a big picture for you to keep in mind as kind of the overarching potential of the week. And that is getting clear once again about what is most important to you and putting your heart and energy into that. And this specifically includes the people around you who are important to you and who fuel your enjoyment of life and yourself. The week begins with a choice point. Maybe it'll be apparent, maybe it won't. The gist of it is where you put your power. Do you put power outside yourself? Do you put power within yourself? Now, yes, of course, there are many conditions outside in the world you can't do anything about, but do you put the power of your life ultimately within you or outside? This choice point also has a streak of reframing yourself, of adjusting your sense of identity, of taking the opportunity to strip away parts of you, parts of your identity that no longer really fit you or serve you. Cutting down to what's basic, cutting down to what's most important. And if nothing else, becoming conscious of your own personal hierarchy of values and priorities and adjusting your life to fit them. Emotional expression very quickly enters the mix. Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into the sign of Cancer. On the 12th, this is not a really comfortable place for him to be because Mercury likes to dart about. Think of the images you have seen of the winged messenger with the wings on his cap, wings on his feet. Mercury likes to be free-footed, fleet-footed. Mercury in water can't move as easily, and sometimes when you push, it comes back at you. Mercury in Cancer can be crabby, it can be pissy, it can personalize everything, it can use everything in the world as an excuse to feel sorry for itself. But it can also temper words with tenderness and kindness and gentleness. And Mercury in Cancer will link our brains to our emotions and facilitate speaking in a nurturing way more easily than we're normally used to doing as supposedly rational beings. And this leads into Mercury's big party that he's hosting this week, which is the Gemini new moon. Now, Gemini is a sign of communication. I call it Communication Central, and it is just a veritable yak box. It's all about taking in information and exchanging it and darting here, darting there, darting everywhere, being very curious, playing games, playing word games, gathering trivia and shiny objects, and yet Mercury is in Cancer. So maybe this year's round of mental refreshing will have us much more aware of our emotions, bring a tender and gentle nature into the mix, soften the dancing around somewhat. One feature of this new moon will be gathering information and wrapping our brains around this new phase that we're in with Uranus now in Taurus. Mercury and Uranus are going to be making an opportunity aspect, which is when you have to actually reach out and accept. It doesn't just fall into your lap, but there's often something extremely appealing about it that makes it worth your while. These are the two planets that have to do with our mental processes. Uranus is often called the higher octave of the mind, and it's definitely a source of genius. All of which means watch for changes in perspective of information that comes out of the blue that shifts the way you're looking at things, innovative solutions coming to you about how you're actually going to manage practical new conditions in your life, maybe having to do with money, maybe having to do with what you value, maybe having to do with food or your relationship with the physical world in some way, maybe giving you insight into what the big jolting shifts around May 15 and 16 portend in your life. And right after this new moon, Everybody wants to socialize, not just because of the Gemini aspect, but because Venus, goddess of love and all we value, moves into Leo and brings warm-heartedness and energy and sunniness to all of our social interactions. This is not isolating energy. It's the exact opposite. Wanting attention, wanting fun, wanting to go out in the sun and strut and have a good time and have people see you. Some of last week's relationship and power issues continue this week. And this week brings an energy that breaks us out of them to an extent that shatters a situation, that shifts our perspective, that changes our hearts, that brings something out into the open. Whatever the startling development is, and it can be startling and still be good, so don't fear this, by the weekend, we're rather contemplative and looking at no's and shoulds and conventions and long-term goals and the structures in our lives and just looking at them and contemplating. And institutions can involve the government. Very active week. Find your hierarchy of priorities. Live them. Homing thought of the week. Kind words never die. Song of the week. Speak low when you speak love. From the little-known musical One Touch of Venus by Kurt Weill and Ogden Nash. And the image of the week is a group of women wearing sparkly flip-flops and beautiful sarongs and big floppy hats and pearls, sitting around a pool and sharing soothing and refreshing beverages. There's more about all of this in my forecast for the Gemini new moon, which is already up at my site, Empowermentunlimited.net, where you can sign up for my mailing list and order my guide to the next 7 or 8 years about Uranus in Taurus, which is available in the shop, and book a session with me. Talk to you next week.